Hey Video Diary, I'm here doing some bird watching. If we're lucky, we might see the downy woodpecker. A couple of mornings ago, I opened the blind just enough to peek through, and I looked down and I saw this little, it's like a leopard type of pattern with dots and stripes and this little red hat. Birds give me a lot of comfort. Just nature. One thing death has taught me is that there are no truths in religions ultimately, because they posit answers that they can't possibly know, and the reasons they cite for knowing them are just wacky. So just a little bit of thinking can get you free of any religion pretty quick. And I just mean common sense, little experience, free thinking. It won't steer you wrong. It's not that I don't want to believe something that will comfort me, about my son who killed himself stupidly. It's just that it violates common sense, and in favor of, like special pleading. So I feel good. It's like when you really feel like you've woken up, you feel good. The woodpecker is designed, and someone's going to say, well, who designed it? And I'm going to say nature designed it over long periods of time. The bird's designed like no other animal to fill the niche of bug eater against the sides of trees, and not every continent has these things. It's very special to see one. So I guess they call it trolling. I should look up the word in parlance. I don't know what it really means, but let's say I've been in my own head for months, but I've gotten some outside feedback, and I've gone to some meetings, and it all largely has the same tonality, broken people who are knocked off their three-legged stools by their drug addict loved one who ODs, on their front doorstep or in the bathroom, or as in my son's case, in his bed with his head earbuds in, listening to some music, dying. Or on the street, in the gutter, in a hotel, at grandma's, just I've been trolling, or I've been looking into other people's insights as to what the big drugs are, if you want to use that term, but heroin specifically, like why did my son find it so attractive, and what is the nature of that addiction? It's interesting stuff. The very immediate effect of the sticking the needle in you, and then you're as high as you get right there. Like that first rush is connected to the needle. I used to ask my son, like, how could you stick a needle in you? You know, I get sick when I'm in the hospital around needles, and how could you do that? You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. The other birds aren't nice to each other. As soon as one bird is up eating and another bird comes up, they get like very territorial and they knock off the other one, and whoever's bigger wins. Whoever's smaller just gets their ass kicked. And does that sound familiar? This is a certain kind of world, and it's our contracts with each other, I believe, that make it different. We're not in our natural state living like this. We were probably small numbered, highly aggressive, willing to do things to survive. So it's weird where all these like violent men find themselves at the wrong end of the culture now, whereas 50, 100, 200 years ago, all the way back, that kind of aggression was rewarded. So it's you have to sublimate, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to take our what we don't need for survival any longer and sublimate it, channel it into constructive, awesome things. Um, Sport, art. I've seen so many beautiful moments of sportsmanship where guys, after fighting, get up and embrace each other with something you do not see a brother, a sister, a respect. It's a beautiful thing, you know, and it does purgate. You do feel the catharsis of doing something that doesn't have the results of death or injury, but gives you a feeling that you have exercised this impulse. What do I know? So we saw the woodpecker. I've been telling you I have been especially difficult. My wife had to actually have her breakfast out this morning. She said, "Man, just take it easy. I'll be back." I know, because I've been impossible to be around. I've just been grieving, crying, at different periods, angry. I'll shout out things like, you fucking idiot. That comes out of my mouth a lot. You fucking idiot. And then looking up and reading, a lot of people feel like I feel. I'm, they're pissed off at drug addicts. And some of them are former drug addicts. I have had my issues and have my issues with addiction. I understand. So it makes me a little less sympathetic in some ways, only because I understand something about addiction in my own life. I understand most people are unhelpable and liars and will just use you, will run roughshod over your kindness, your humanity, your love, your support. I don't entirely feel that way about Forrest because of how well he lived for so long. And it doesn't, it does comfort me a little, but to just have him just poof, dead, gone forever, no explanation, I feel like a complete asshole, blindsided. At 23, I saw him, he looked like a man, he looked like he was, he knew what his year was going to be. He had his weeks planned. It's like we had been doing this for a while. I'm like, I didn't think there was anything. Anyway, to be just taken out, it trivializes death and life, both. A person's death should have some meaning. That meaning being a culmination of what their efforts and products and effects were in their life. I really do feel that we all have a responsibility to make our lives as beautiful. I think that's the word I'm looking for, because it's different for everybody. Some of the things that I do, my wife doesn't understand the fighting. She says, I don't get that stuff. I don't try to make it explain. I explain, but I'm everyone has their thing, or their things, and those things are also different in the different environments. Um, but to be healthy, to be constructive, to be, you know, not a predator. Um, so drug use, drug death trivializes life, because the person in my son's case didn't have their full life. They didn't even have what we would typically, he didn't even get started. Just getting started. Not a teenager, an adult at 23 years old. We expect things that we don't expect from 17 or 15, or even 18. It's like we expect something from 23. A self-knowledge, a responsibility for your decisions, a respect for the people that are supporting you and love you. So a private decision to use heroin is irresponsible to all that. I've been looking in, dipping back into utilitarianism, and there's a sense that a person should be able to do whatever they want if it's not harming. You should be able to find your greatest happiness as long as it's not harming your neighbors. But we can't say that about heroin. And maybe that's what's underscoring something to me. It's that, like, my life isn't just my own. Forrest's life wasn't just his own. I would say it's largely, I'm responsible for it. I drive it, but I know a drunk in my life who causes so much pain, and he doesn't even know it. He thinks he's the victim in this world. That things are conspiring, against him in some way. And it's so the other way around. All of it, all the crappiness is emanating from him. So, does he have a responsibility? Do you have a responsibility to make your life good, beautiful, is what I would say. Not just good, but fucking beautiful, amazing. Design it. Get smart. Go to school. Get smart. Build your body. Come up with something that you do, that you just love doing. It doesn't even matter if you're the best at something. What matters is that it's you doing it. There's plenty of people who play guitar, better than I do. But nobody plays guitar like I play. And that's becoming, that becomes more and more realized as I get into it. It's like sort of a Nietzschean concept of fully becoming the you that only you can become. And that's why drug use is, to me, a violation of, I don't know, the Tao, natural order, life itself, the sanctity of our connections, our connection. I feel the connection. I don't feel any God or any supernatural or no, none of that stuff. All our earthly myths are purely earthly myths, but I feel the connection between all things. And this is a violation. And then I read the statistic that less than 5% of addicts will ever recover. You're fucked. And what are you going to do to be that part of that percentage that gets out? It's in your head. If I could talk to my son, I would tell him it's in your head, in your mind, if you can understand this. A lot of people report that they feel crappy doing it. Yeah, they feel great when they're high. They feel like they're getting messages from the cosmos, and of course they never remember them. It's a joke. It's a sick joke. And so, yeah, heroin use, death, heroin death trivializes death. Death should mean something. Death should be a time when people gather to say, my life would not have been so great without him or her. It should have a feeling of completeness to it. It should have a feeling of fulfillment, if possible. I mean, if we get cancer or die in a car accident, it sucks. It sucks. It's terrible. But this is not that. This is killing yourself. This is taking yourself out. This is misunderstanding the violation that you're making. I've been really hard to be around. It's New Year's Eve.